Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, because this is virtual and you might be at different places on Earth. And thank you for joining us in Dearborn Blog. We are in this together. I'm your host, Wissam Charafeddine. We Are in This Together is a non-scripted live nonprofit broadcast by Dearborn Blog to have conversations that become oral history records of our lives during the COVID-19 pandemic, also known as coronavirus pandemic. These are personal stories of our lives during these unprecedented social isolation measures in a globalized world. And today we have the pleasure of having with us in the studio Sharine Atif. Welcome, Sharine.
Welcome.
Sharine Atif is an American-Egyptian independent filmmaker. She's a graduate from CalArts in 2017 with an MFA in film directing. As an independent filmmaker, Sharine experiments with different strategies and devices to learn how best to create change through cinema by using confrontation, humor, subtlety, tenderness, aggression, by highlighting the empowered woman. Her short docu-drama, His Cucumber, in 2015, recaptures the story of a woman who confronts her harasser while at the market. The film was screened at the United Nations Commission on the Statue of Women in New York City in 2017. Her most recent work is a short fiction film, Jabal Banat, 2018, the retelling of a melancholic 19th century Egyptian legend about two Bedouin sisters escaping forced marriages. The film won the Student Visionary Award at Tribeca Film Festival 2019. Congratulations. Sharine is currently residing in Cairo, working on her second short film project. She's currently in LA, and we're having.
No, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, really? Okay, sorry.
Temporarily,
Okay.
but it's become my home now for the past few months, couple of months since the pandemic situation. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you're closer to us, and welcome on We Are in This Together, Sharine.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
We haven't had a conversation, me and you, for a long time. This is how I first, this idea came to me, is that I wanted to do two things at the same time. I wanted to have conversations and record oral history of what we're going through. At the same time, I wanted to reconnect. We had just a minute, we had this time right now to do things that are different, to rethink our life, and I wanted to reconnect with friends who I've had for a long time and I haven't connected with, and you're one of them. So I'm happy to connect with you today.
Same here. Thank you.
Before we start the story, and I wanna have a little conversation first on a sad incident. And I know that I've seen you reflect on it on Facebook. And it is really about Sarah Hijazi.
Yeah.
Sarah Hijazi is an Egyptian activist who, during a concert for Mashrou' Layla, it's a Lebanese band, she raised the rainbow flag. She's part of the LGBTQ community. And after that incident, she was subjected to detainment and torture, abuse, rape. And after being released, that torture continued within a very harsh circumstances in Egypt that led her eventually to flee away, and she resided in Canada. A few days ago, Sarah decided to take her own life, leaving a message to the world, apologizing from her friends and family that the pain that she was enduring was not bearable. Unfortunately, the conversation continues because the abuse is continuing even after her death. You see the comments left right and left over that incident are still judging her even after her death, and not even giving her the last moment of respect or peace, at least. So, Shireen, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about this for a minute.
Yeah, it's just really sad to see how people have become, or how people are, or how people have always been, actually. Lack of empathy and mercy, you know. I personally, to be honest, let me speak of myself and not say people, because I'm of the people as well. So I'm not above anyone. There was a phase where I was completely disconnected, and it was so hard for me to be up to date with what's happening in the world, you know, and I was just completely disconnected. Like I would just take a huge toll on me, and then I would start feeling guilty, start feeling I'm not doing my part, I'm not doing enough. But I mean, I do focus on empowering the empowered women. Like I like to focus on showing the empowered women more than showing the issues, which I think both are important. I'm not saying one is more important than the other. But just because my own personal life experience and the things I endured, the traumas I lived, the work I do is just takes a toll on its own, my own personal life. So for me to even invite more of what's happening around the world is kind of, I would be depressed. Like I would just be a depressed person. So I've just started unfollowing certain pages and taking 2 or 3 days completely offline, because I just didn't want to. I just wanted to filter, and I just don't want to take in that stuff. But then now I started feeling that maybe that was a huge mistake. Maybe some people have to stay connected, and some people have to be up to date. Like I've never even heard of Sara al-Hijazi until after she died. Like, why does it take this incident to happen for me to start knowing that such a person existed and she suffered and she went to jail? Like, why didn't I know this about her before that? You know, why wasn't I aware? Because I was kind of just staying disconnected. So I feel like, I don't know, it's a question. I can't give an answer right now. I can't say oh, I should be more connected and read about all the news happening in the world and all the injustices happening. It just makes me so upset. Like just a few days ago, I follow Mina Masoud, one of the Egyptian actors that played Aladdin in Hollywood, and he posted about the crisis happening in Yemen, and I felt so ashamed that I didn't even know about it, and it's been happening since when? 2015, and I'm just completely oblivious of that. And it's not like I'm purposely meant to, but like I said, I was just totally engaging, disconnecting. And I think the cool thing about the pandemic and the corona situation, that kind of forced me to kind of be confronted by so many things that were just not in the highlight, not thought of. You know, like there were so many issues, always trying to be in control of things, planning things ahead, not staying in touch with people, or being in touch, or things not going well, not being the pandemic kind of forced you, like certain things I wanted to do and I kept putting it behind, and then this pandemic happens, kind of like forced you in a certain direction. And then I started discovering that it's not really the pandemic that made people distance. People were already distanced before that. Like you could be living under a roof, the same roof with your own family, and not have a conversation with them for like a whole week, you know? So it's again, it's really sad to see that even like people can't empathize and relate. Like, you know, I read a lot of harsh and horrible comments on the post when it was announced, and like I don't want to like reinstate them and highlight them, because like again, I like highlighting the positive side of things and the empowered side of things. So two of the comments that really stood out for me: nobody gives a shit about your imaginary sky wizard. What your imaginary sky wizard has to say about anything. I thought that was interesting. And sadly, humans are the worst animals on this planet. And I just, it's like a moment of a person that committed suicide because she had to endure whatever she endured for her personal, whatever reasons. Even people are trying to, certain people that are against her lifestyle or her choices, gives them any right whatsoever to condemn her or like talk bad or mad about, like, justify that, oh, she should be in hell, or it's good she committed suicide, we need less of these people, or these harsh things. Like, it doesn't, like, really, like, I don't understand that. Like, what happened to empathy? What happened to mercy? Like, I really don't understand that. Like, why are people so fixated and focused on other people who are choosing different life paths, different beliefs, different ways of being? Like, as long as you're doing what you believe in and you are, having that freedom to choose to do so, then why would you impose your opinion on anyone else, or criticize or judge anyone else? And I know we all do it sometimes, but like in certain circumstances like these that end up having people commit suicide, not everyone is strong. Like I personally don't understand the mind state of getting to that state of wanting to end your life. I cannot even imagine how that state is, and I can't even speak of that, and I can't even relate as much in terms of like not saying in a sense that I can't feel empathetic. Of course I can feel empathy, but I'd never, with all the traumas I've lived in my life, I've never reached a state where I was like, okay, I want to end my life. But that doesn't mean everyone has that capability, or like people are growing up in different circumstances, different backgrounds, different certain people can endure certain things because they're exposed to it more than others. I don't know what it is, like, but like some people can, live with certain traumas and some people just can't. So
Right.
you can't compare, so
with the death of Sarah Hijazi, which me too, I'm like you, I haven't heard of. I mean, I've heard of the incidents of raising the flag in Egypt, and then someone was detained. I never paid attention to the details of that incidents. Mashrou' Layla themselves had so much controversy about them. And they came here to Dearborn and they played, and it was a pleasure meeting them. They're a creative band from Lebanon, but recently they've canceled a performance in Lebanon due to there was a Christian extremists who threatened that the concert is not going to take place. So they were worried about some violence taking place during the concert, and because of safety measures, nothing from the government side, but just due to safety measures, they had to cancel their concert from Lebanon. But Sarah, she highlighted with her death, she highlighted her story again, and the story that is symbolic to the lack of empathy and to the lack of tolerance, lack of acceptance, and also the ignorance that we still live in the 21st century, that we judge people by their sexual orientations that have been proven by science that they're not something that they have much choices about. And now they, and she's just being, comfortable. She expressed her sexual orientation because that's who she is. And the society was so harsh on her. I mean, other than the government, the society also plays a role. The society plays a role of a dictatorship in some cases. At the same time, the Black Lives Matter situation that's taken place also shows that lack of empathy. That we are in the 21st century, yet we as humans are doing things that are they've been deplorable for a very long time. They've been things that we have rejected for a very long time, yet they keep on happening. Like, what's going on? Is there that much disconnect between our values and our practices, and where is this disconnect from? So I just wanted to get that off our chest and give a moment, instead of a moment of silence, actually a moment of conversation about the situation, as respect and in memory of Sarah Hijazi. So thank you, Sharine.
Thank you.
So going back to your life, I just want to go a little bit background before we get to the usual parts of this program. Tell us, like, when did you move to the United States, and when did you decide to become a filmmaker? That's very rare in our communities. How that dream came to you, and how did you make it true? How did you make it a reality? That takes a lot of work.
Sure. At first, actually, I wanted to be a fashion designer, and then it was just not really like it didn't end up being what I thought it was. And then I just I didn't have a high GPA as well, so partly my circumstances and feeling not not as prepared and not as set for that. So I kind of just started taking liberal art classes. But I've always loved art, and so I was just taking so many, like all my electives. And
did you do your high school here in America?
My high school and secondary school were all in all-girl Arabic schools in public schools in Egypt. So yeah. And then I moved to New York to go to university, and so I had to go to community college at first to kind of like improve my GPA and start learning things in Microsoft and Word and all this stuff. I had no idea what the hell that was. And then I like slowly got into art, and then I became an art major, and then by 2009, before 2008, I have a year left at Hunter College. I'm supposed to graduate with fine arts, and then I'm short like 28 credits. So I'm like, what should I do? And then there's another program, a film program, and they said I could double major. So I was like, that's interesting. And that happened at the same time while I was working on a video art project for some class. And then also I watched this French film, Emily, that inspired me actually to look for my family from my Italian side, my mom's side in the States. So that film just like really inspired me, and I ended up trying to go on people search. Especially my mom had just died a year ago, and like I wanted to reconnect with my mom's side of the family. I had just like at that time like left Egypt and didn't want anything to do with anything in Egypt for a while. And so it was so easy. I found my uncle, and then we had a really good relationship, and I felt the power of film. Like, wow, this is not just like a painting that is going to just be in some exhibition where some few people are going to come and see it, or maybe take a picture of it and put it online. But like a film, everyone can see it, and it can actually inspire some people to actually take action. So I want to do that, and then in conjunction with that, taking the double major in cinema, and then I did my first short film on like 18 millimeter. I was like, wow, and it was just like storytelling, and like I was obsessed, and then I became a filmmaker. That's how it happened. So yeah, and yeah, what else?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I saw your film that you made in 2000. What was it?
Which one?
It's the 2015 film. His cucumber.
His cucumber, yeah.
Yeah, and that was very confrontational and very controversial and very courageous, and opening a very strong conversation, especially that Egypt suffers from a high level of sexual harassment, right? It is one of the countries that women, I don't know what's the statistics now, but previously it has been a place where a lot of women are victimized by sexual harassment. So you hit the nail right on the head with that. And
all the gratitude and everything goes to Noura, of course, Noura Labib. Like I had no control over the answers. It was a time where I was making this project, a Way Out video series, and it was inspired by the uprising of the Arab women in the uprising of Arab and women in the Arab world. And they were all like making statements and like why they're with the uprising. Women shouldn't be forced into virginity tests. If they want to get divorced, they should be able to get divorced and all this. So it was a very outspoken, proactive time where people were just speaking up. Women were speaking up. So I wanted to take advantage of that moment and like just start interviewing like 6 women in Egypt, and she's one of them. And I would just ask them a series of questions, and they would just answer on the spot. Like it was all also improv and all just like spontaneously answered on the spot of recording the talking heads. And then later on, I went to do my grad studies at California, and I decided to experiment with it and started doing the drama parts and adding it, like the docu-drama. But yeah, it's all her, and she was so brave, and she just like for the first time, very refreshing to actually state out loud what was said to her with no filter, and she just totally turned the table and objectified the guy, the harasser. So it went really viral. People, it was great to see the interaction aspect of it, and then it screened at the UN. Which gave it more validation because lots of people were like really triggered and upset by it. They were saying a lady shouldn't speak this way, and like, yeah, she's just repeating what was said to her. And like, anyway, it just really was a great way to actually hear and know like what's being told to us, because like I think verbal harassment is a very harsh form of sexual harassment. Yeah.
right.
So yeah.
Do you feel that? I mean, we know how powerful is media and delivering messages. Do you feel that you are capable of expressing our your concerns, the things that you wanna, the messages that you wanna speak up through media, or is there a lot of obstacles in front of producing short film?
I guess like that's why it was a long journey for me. Like, it took me some time to reach where I am now, and I think I still have another long way ahead. Like, I'm not saying I'm like there already, but I think at the beginning it was more like like the work I was making was out of anger. It was an expression of anger, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because actually anger is a very good ingredient for you to express and to make work and have content. But like, I didn't really want it to be like that. I wanted it to be more like reflective, and I wanted it to be more like highlighting how do empowered women, find ways out when they want, and like, so that with the hope that other women in the same situation can feel more empowered too. So that's how it ended up happening. By coincidence, I shot a film that was showing this woman being empowered, and others got empowered. So I thought, wow, this works. It's better. Instead of just kind of like demonizing the male, or demonizing the patriarchy, or demonizing and focusing on the issues that we see so many films already, like discussing all these issues, but like how did women actually find ways to get out of those situations, not just like the ones that are just stuck in them. So I think the most scary thing is like if a woman has the freedom to actually leave from a situation, but she doesn't know she does. It's different from like certain women in Saudi Arabia and other parts of the world, many other parts of the world, that they don't have a choice. They can't even leave if they wanted to. It's just like by law they can't. Other women have the freedom to do that, but they end up staying by choice because they don't feel like they can. They feel they don't feel empowered. They're financially dependent on the person they're with. There's so many factors. So like, I think that was a more frightening and scary thing. The thing with funding and money and all that, that's like, I never liked that kind of to stand in the way. But of course, yes, making films costs money, and I end up having to get money or make money or raise money or try to find grants and funds so I can be able to do it. And there's certain other no to low budget things I can work on and do, or I can find passionate creative collaborators to work with, and we would all just work on stuff. Jabal Banat, for instance, my thesis film, was the most difficult film I've shot so far, and all of the films I've shot, and I could have just shot in LA and take advantage of the crew there, that my classmates, and take advantage of the free equipment and the studios and the actors and really good well-trained actors. I chose the most difficult thing, and I came here with no budget, zero budget, and no actors, no crew, nothing. And I found the whole crew, I found the actors, and I did it. I think when you set your head to something and you really want to do it, and you kind of manifest it, it happens. Like if you're gonna say, if people were saying you need to have a plan B, because what if it doesn't happen? You have deadlines, you have a thesis, you have to graduate. I'm like, no, the moment I already make a plan B, that already means plan A is gonna fail. Like there is no plan B. It's only plan A. That's all I'm investing in, and that's all I'm doing, and that's what I'm gonna make. That's what I'm gonna do. So
is it difficult to find funding for such projects?
Of course. I mean, yes and no. I mean, you have to have the entrepreneurial business production side aspect, and then there's the artist creative aspect. And I really want to be in the artist creative aspect, so I'm kind of always juggling between both, because no one's gonna ever get money for your projects as much as you are. You're gonna be the one having to hustle. And there's 10,000 million filmmakers out there, and so many other women making films about women empowerment, which is great because we need more and more of those types of films. And there is support out there, and there is ways to get funding and find ways to get funding. But I think, you just have to keep trying and trying and trying. Like I have my master's now. I'm planning to do my PhD in September 2021. I'm working on a second film now. Hopefully, I'm going back to Egypt 1st of July. I was supposed to shoot it in Ramallah, Palestine. I was actually there in mid-March when the pandemic happened, and it didn't work out. So I was able to raise a small fund on Indiegogo, and just through friends and people who like support you, and people who've been following you and love your work and stuff.
Is the funding still open? Because you can share it here, we can share it with our audience.
Oh, thanks. I can start another one for post-production, no problem.
Sharine, I want to talk about all that you mentioned right now in terms of when the pandemic started. But before that, so you have an American citizen and you're an Egyptian citizen, and you have. Do you consider yourself, because you go back and you live in Egypt, right, for long periods of time? Why do you do that? Why do you go back to Egypt?
Okay, so it's funny because I'm always asked that. It's a question of my life. Like people ask me that question all the time, and I actually even started writing a script and took a workshop to make a film called My Cairo, My New York, to answer all those questions. That's on hold now. It's almost like I consider Cairo and New York my home, or let's bigger scale, Egypt and the US. Okay. I have some roots here in Madison now because my sister's here and I've been living with her for the past few months, and I've visited her a few times before. I have some family in New York and I've lived 3 years in LA. Egypt, I love Egypt. I've been in Cairo. I love Sinai more. I can go and stay in Nuweiba for months and just camp out there in the desert. I go back because it's home. Like, I don't know. It's almost like asking, like, why do you have a father? Or my father's Egyptian. I grew up in Egypt most of my life, like my adolescence and teenage years. I went to all Arabic public girls' school. I have friends from high school that are still friends with me now. So almost like 20 plus years, and we're still in touch.
No, I'm not questioning the motives. Like, all of us would go back and and do this if we can. But I meant like more technically. So I feel like you don't have really attachments that keep you in the US or that keeps you in Cairo, and you have that flexibility of going back and forth, which is, it's amazing opportunity. And then you have probably you're residing there with you have the residence figured out over there and here. So that gives you that flexibility and makes you like an international woman. But this is very special. Can you reflect on that? Is it because like when I travel back to the Middle East?
Yeah, there's cons and pros both. Like I think like, okay, so there's the, like, when I'm in Egypt, I'm treated like I'm the American girl. When I'm here, I'm in the States, I'm the Egyptian girl.
The Egyptian woman.
The Egyptian woman. It's life there financially is much more easier in Egypt. Like, you can get by very easily. Like, I do filmmaking workshops, I teach, I do some freelance side gigs. Pretty much, like, I can do online work. It's like in Egypt, like, I can have a beautiful apartment in Maadi, 2 bedrooms, and live really comfortable, and it won't be like rent is like not even over $250 or $300 or whatever. So yeah, it's like I actually was there for the past 2 years after graduating from my master's program, and I actually started really loving it and getting super comfortable, to the extent I felt like I had to push myself out of my comfort zone and get challenged and do something more challenging. So that's when I decided in mid-December to leave. But
do you feel you have to switch your way of thinking, because it's almost like a totally different mindset, right? Because I feel it when I go to the Middle East. Like, I need few days to adjust the way of thinking.
Yeah. I think the good thing is you have the knowledge. You know your community and your society, and you know how your people are. You know what to expect. It's not like you're going to a whole new country where you're going to just discover how it is. And at the same time, I think I've learned the hard way. Like, I had a huge identity crisis. Don't get me wrong. Like, I was always feeling displaced. Who am I? Where do I belong? Am I American? Am I Egyptian? Why do I hate Egypt? I had phases where I hated Egypt. I didn't go for a whole 8 years, and then I hated New York, and I left New York. And I mean, now I'm at a point. I think it doesn't really matter where you are. You create the life you want to make you feel most comfortable. Like, you need to find your tribe. You need to find the people you want to hang out. You need to set boundaries. You need to set barriers. You need to choose, like, and it's not easy. You have to build that. It's almost like you have a seed and you plant the seed and you have to wait until it actually starts to grow out. It's not going to grow overnight. Like, you have to really work on that for you to reach that state and level of being content and happy and comfortable in Egypt. And it's really not easy. Like, I can stay home like for a whole week just to avoid situations walking in the street. If I don't have to go to a certain, like, run an errand or do something, I could probably just end up staying home. And the cool thing is, like, people can just come to your door house if you want to order anything. We don't have that in the States, for instance. There's constant pros. I think you just got to learn the laws of how the city works. And if you understand it and try to, like, not take it personal, understand what's behind those things. And like I like to think that there's so many perspectives on how to see things. You can look at one thing from one angle and look at it very negatively, and it can be totally true, and there's nothing wrong with negative, right? But then you can also see it from another perspective and see the positive aspect of it too. So you choose what you wanted to see about it, and, like, you actually manifest that and you live it, and then you can actually. I'm really happy when I'm in Egypt. I miss it. I'm homesick. I was like, why did I have to push myself out of my comfort zone? And I was so happy there and comfortable there. But of course, I want to grow and I want to do more with my career, and I want to do my PhD, and I want to make some money, earn some money. Of course, earning money in Egypt too is not like, the income is not as great as it is here, and certain benefits in the States that I don't get there, and the health insurance and all these other aspects. So
with that perspective, as a filmmaker, and you come to New York and you get, you see where things are as far as the progress of civilization, and then when you go back to Egypt, it's interesting the dynamics of the growing society there, and everything that's taking place in the Middle East. And I'm sure you start seeing things differently, right? You see things like from above, from a perspective that probably locals won't see sometimes. And I'm sure as a filmmaker, your brain like it pops up with all these ideas of films and documentaries. And do you expect to do like more film and documentary from Egypt?
I focus on fiction, shorts. I'm a
Mhm.
short filmmaker, and I'm starting now with an interest. I'm taking an interest in trying to do episodic, um, yeah, episodic for TV, not full length features and not documentaries.
Yeah.
I'm not close to it. I'm open to it if it happens, and I've worked in documentary before, but I specifically enjoy fiction based on true events. And yeah, that's what I like to work on. And actually, most of my stories is highlighting the Egyptian empowered woman, and most of these stories come from things I know very closely. I've lived, I've seen people around me, I've experienced other people really close to me have experienced. I'm open to working on other things sometimes that are outside of my focus, but pretty much it's more about highlighting the empowered woman. And Egypt is the place to be to do that. If it's an Egyptian story and that's where I come from and this is what I know, that's where my work comes from. But of course, there's so many other things in the States or in New York, like domestic violence is reported every 5 seconds or five. I don't know what the statistic was in crazy. I mean, of course, we probably have that in Egypt too, and they just don't report it because they don't call. The husband can like kick his wife out of the house and she'll stay out of the house overnight, and the next day she'll just walk back inside. They don't have hotlines to call for domestic violence in Egypt. It's getting better and better now. Like we in Egypt, we didn't have a law against sexual harassment. Now we do, and that doesn't mean like, okay, now sexual harassment is going to be less or it's going to stop happening. But the fact that they actually acknowledged it as a crime, and they have a law now. It says something.
Mhm.
It's moving slow and slow. And yes, maybe compared to Egypt, Egypt compared to the States, maybe we're you can see it in a way that we're so backwards and so behind. But actually, there's so many other things culturally in the American society that is also very backwards, and it's just maybe not comparable. Like we have FGM, we have early marriage, we have that, but there's certain things in the States that like domestic violence, people being killed by their partners, whatever. I mean, they're not directly similar, but there are other things you can compare to that. You'll find injustice everywhere. It's a patriarchal world everywhere. It's not just Egypt. And
Right.
that's why I like highlighting actually the empowered women in Egypt, because most of the time people in the West, they always think like we are so weak. We are so passive. We don't stand up for ourselves. We can't stand up for ourselves. We're deprived. We can't speak up. And like, that's not something we see a lot. We don't see the empowered woman a lot. And so that's why I want to shed more light on that. Like, where are these
Yeah.
Egyptian empowered women who are deciding to move out of their apartment, their family's house, even without marriage, or those who are deciding to move out of the city or work abroad or divorce their husband if they're unhappy in the marriage, and like all these things. Like we don't see those things a lot. So I think the more
Right.
you see them, the more they become part of the normalization of the society. But the more
Right.
people don't show and shed a light on that, the more everyone's going to feel like I had a group of friends in Egypt. We wanted to do this like movement where we would choose one day of the week to all go out and wear these old fashioned dresses from the 60s. You know how Egypt used to be like before Saudi Arabia's influence in the 80s or whatever. Like we used to wear these really short dresses and walk, and no one used to talk to us or harass us or bother us. And we wanted to like all dress up that way and just go like once a week, every Sunday, so that people can start seeing it's a normalized thing. Oh, girls started to ride bicycles. There are so many interesting initiatives in Egypt happening. This Egyptian woman, pardon me, I forget her name. She started this movement to help feed people in Ramadan to break their fast. And she would go and she would go to these very poor neighborhoods, like not slums, but very like, Bulet or Shobra and these places, and she would go on with a whole group of women on bikes to deliver the food to them. So time after time, people started seeing more women riding bicycles, which was a huge thing. Like back in the day, like you can't be
Right. And there
riding.
is no better way to showcase that than short film.
Yes.
So I mean, like I feel like you have a big role you can play with that in Egypt, and wish you all the success.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I feel like with Egypt's economy, it's very, it would be a lot more affordable to make a short film there than here, with hiring a crew.
Yeah.
Do I have the right impression?
Um, yes and no. Some of the commercial crew people in Egypt are now, doing ads for Sensodyne and Kevin Klein, whatever. So they get paid well, and they actually start charging the rates of the states,
Hmm.
especially if they've worked for international brands and stuff. But you'd be surprised. You'll find these very same exact people interested in doing something creative and something that they believe in, and they would agree to come on board and not even get paid. Like for Jabal Banet, none of my cast or crew got paid. The film I'm going to do now in Cairo,
Oh
hopefully,
wow,
all the cast and crew also aren't getting paid because the money I raise is like pretty much nothing.
so
Like,
they're volunteers.
yeah.
That's very meaningful. And do you feel that with your PhD, one day maybe you will make an academy of filmmaking in Egypt?
Interesting question. My dream that I believe will happen at some point is to have like a huge kind of like a co-working, co-living space where artists can come together and live there and work there at the same time. So almost like an academy, the place will run workshops, screenings, Q&A sessions after the screenings. There will be like a studio, post-production studio. People can work there and they live there, they work there. So whatever fee they pay for their living expenses, their work expenses included, instead of going and renting another studio. So they're actually artists who are maybe coming from out of town or coming from out of the country, and they need to work on a project in Cairo or whatever. It doesn't have to be in Cairo. I don't know. It can be anywhere. So yeah, kind of like an exchange, kind of like multicultural travelers, creative artists, travelers to come and together in this co-working, co-creative space and make things happen. So that's kind of a,
Awesome.
yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'm when I go to Lebanon, I'll also connect you with filmmakers, and I feel like there can be something that can be done also in collaboration with Lebanese artists.
Cool.
Beirut and Cairo have historically been very collaborative in art. All right, so getting to our pandemic talk. So just for the record, today is June 16, 2020, and the coronavirus situation, we are approaching 8 million cases worldwide, with deaths over 435,000. In the United States, we're at 2.18 million confirmed cases, recoveries of 679,000, and deaths of 119,000. And in Egypt, there has been 47,000 confirmed cases, over 12,000 recovered, and the deaths are about 1,700. That's for a population of about 100 million, right, Shireen?
Yes.
So when at the beginning of the pandemic, you mentioned you were in Ramallah.
Yes.
That's in March and in February.
Yes.
And
So I had a very crazy start of the year. It was like traveling. So I can't even count how many cities. I left Cairo mid-December. I went to first here, Madison, Wisconsin, my first stop, to spend the Christmas holiday with my sister and my niece and nephew. Then I went to New York to see my other sister for New Year's. Then I went to LA to shoot a short film, actually, for a Egyptian director studying at UCLA for her master's in film directing. The film is almost done. It's going to be out soon, but it's a thesis project for her from her school. So I stayed in LA for a bit, and the plan was to stay in LA. That was the plan. Then I ended up moving to Toronto, Canada. Don't ask me why. I ended up moving to Toronto, Canada, and that was where I was actually based. And then I got invited to a film festival, the same film festival I was invited to last year, which is called the 49% in Jerusalem. And so I thought like, oh well, since I'm going to be there, I went last year. I did a workshop in Jerusalem. Okay, so my friend who runs the workshop, she's the American Israeli. but I knew her. I've known her for almost 8 years in New York, and she had moved there recently because she got married and had kids and whatever. So she had moved there recently and started her own film festival that highlights women oppression and stuff in the whole world, like even from her own country. They have a very very oppressed Orthodox society, and they highlight certain oppressions happening there too that are very similar, actually in some cases even worse than what's happening in Egypt. I was really shocked to learn about. And so I thought, okay, since I'm there, I want to like travel around and get to see Palestine and go to other places and stuff. And I got in touch with a cinema club in Palestine, and they said I can maybe run a workshop for some students in some high school, a very old high school called St. George. So this was like last year. And so they re-invited me again this year, and I'm like, oh, me and these film cinema club from Palestine, we thought we should shoot a film together. And I was engaged to a Palestinian Egyptian before, and I had some issues with always communicating my ideas about the political situation. And like, so I took a class called perspectives on Palestine and Israel and third world cinema, and like started learning a lot more about the conflicts through cinema. And so I had to do a project for that to graduate from the class. And I did this like short film called Hummus Falafel, based on an incident that happened between me and my fiance. But I never really worked on it the way I wanted. I ended up acting in it, and other students were collaborating in the class. And I always wanted to shoot that film. So I'm like, what if I just shoot that film in Palestine, in Ramallah? So like I told the group of filmmakers, and we were going to film it, and everything was going super well. And like, I was like, traveling from Egypt to like Madison, and then New York, and then LA, and then Canada, and then like now I'm going to Ramallah like for 3 weeks, to shoot the film, and everything's ready. I have the money for it, I have the crew, and then we just need to cast, and we were starting to cast even before me arriving there, and then the pandemic situation happened.
In what, February?
This was mid-March.
Mid-March, yep.
I arrived there March 3rd. And I was supposed to stay till March 13. I extended my trip so that I can work on the film to like March 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So now, everything's shutting down. My flight actually just like doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, wow.
To go back to Air Canada. Air Canada shut down. The whole airport in Tel Aviv shut down. I had no place to stay. Nobody wants to take me in for like in Airbnbs because and all the hotels are closed because of the breakout. I'm like displaced and like in this Tel Aviv. Don't know how the hell to get out of there. So I had to call a friend, and they got me another ticket on Aeroflot, right? So my luck is so interesting. Like so I go to like through Russia to Moscow, and then from there change planes, and then go to like JFK so that I can take another plane to go back to Toronto. That same exact moment I arrive in JFK to take the other plane to go to Toronto, they decided to close the borders between the States and Canada.
Oh, wow.
So like all my things are there, like my external drives, my clothes. I just took a carry-on with me. So all my life, everything is there, and I can't go there. Yeah. So I'm like, oh man. So then I took 2 buses all the way to Madison, Wisconsin to come stay at my sister. Yeah, it was the longest trip ever.
And
so
your stuff are still in Toronto.
No, thankfully after a month and a half, when the UPS started opening up and working again, people were a little bit more like comfortable doing that, then my friend shipped all my things to me. But that cost so much money. And then my flight back to Egypt kept getting canceled. I was supposed to return mid-May, and then I canceled to June 2nd, and then from just June 2nd to actually tomorrow I was supposed to fly out, and then that canceled. And so now my final flight hopefully is the 30th, end of this month. I should go. Yeah.
And you have been in Madison Heights since then.
Yes.
So how is that change of lifestyle? How did it affect you? What's
My family are watching me now, so I have to. I'm gonna be totally honest, okay? I'm not gonna idealize anything.
No, I don't want any problems.
Honestly, no, I've always wanted to reconnect with my sister and my sister's kids and my niece and my nephew, because like I always visit just really briefly, and like I never really take time to spend time, and like I'm always in the other part of the world, she's always in another part of the world. We're always like every like holiday or vacation we meet up, right? So it's almost like this thing forced us to kind of like live together for a long time, and me, I've been used to like living alone for a long time, and I'm not used to having kids around. So again, I love them to death, and I actually discovered their cool little characters and like how kids think and how creative and super like Mariam, my niece. She's just like a really interesting character. She's so brave. I wish I had half her bravery. Like she's just amazing. Malik is so like passionate about his Beyblades, and I learned so much about the game he loves. And like they're so like genuine and innocent, and like it just reminds me like when I used to be a kid, and they're like have no filters. They just say what they think, and like yeah, it's been nice to actually like hang out with them. I went to on a park trip with them, and like we talk and have conversations like what do you want to be when you grow up, and he wants my nephew Malik, he wants to be a toy inventor, and I'm like wow, interesting. He's like why? I want kids to be happy with toys. I'm like wow, that's interesting. Okay. Mariam's like I don't know, and she doesn't care, she doesn't know. When the time comes she'll figure it out. But yeah, it's been interesting to kind of learn how to live in a family. And there's 3 cats, and they're super hilarious. Like really, I'm like also not used to having pets, but these cats really crack me up. Just the way they sleep and the way they talk and meow and.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions, Sharine, that are related to the to this
Yeah.
isolation with your family.
Mm.
So first, like, how did you how do you feel? So this question, Kathy Brown from Argentine, and I met Kathy at the beginning of Corona. So now we're like few months. So what do you feel? Is there a change in your perspective or in yourself that was caused by this change of lifestyle and social isolation, and spending more time with family and less with friends and less
Yeah.
traveling?
Yes. The first big lesson, super huge big lesson, you can't be in control of anything. And the other lesson is you have to learn more how to accept and enjoy and adapt, like in the midst of all the chaos. Like if your whole center and calm and peace is dependent on outside factors, good luck. Good luck. Like you can sit here all day and find a huge list of very heavy-hearted, dreadful, painful, sad outrageousness, and just stay depressed for a whole week and not come out of your room, and you can also see other things that are super empowering and enlightening and amazing. Like I saw a video posted on LinkedIn a few days ago of a fire, and there was this old guy, and he was crammed up in his little balcony, and his face, it was tore my heart. I was crying like, oh my god, this poor old guy. You could see on his face that he felt like that's it, it's the end, he's dying. And these 2 young guys climbed up of the building to save him and took him out of that balcony. That was just so like, oh my god, okay, they're still good in the world. They're heroes. Like they climbed the building and took him out of
That
that.
took place in France, right?
I think so. I don't know if it was it in France. An Arab person posted it, like someone from Saudi Arabia, a connection on LinkedIn, a friend of mine, he posted that. So I'm not sure. I just like watching that actually unfold in front of me. It's like, there's the good too. Like, yeah, the world can be a very unpredictable, very dividing, very unjust, very harsh place, and really it can suck big time. But at the same time, the world can also be a very human experience, mind-blowing, exciting human place also. Like there's both. So like I think to balance things out, you need to kind of see both. You need to see the other side as well. So yeah.
I have a question from Ali Charafeddine. He says, what are some of the things you are accomplishing staying at home during the pandemic?
So I was very lucky to have another space to myself. My sister's partner had another place, so I had like a whole month just in isolation. Also because I was traveling a lot, so I wanted to just self-isolate. I took an online course, tried to like work more on my script and make it as best as it can be. So when I go to Egypt, it's much more prepared. I started looking into my PhD, all the PhD programs that I want to enroll in, all the things that I have been putting on hold. Just cleaning out my external drives. I have so much stuff on there, and there's so much projects I haven't been working on. I didn't really get to doing all of them. I thought that I would have all the time in the world to finish them, but actually, I don't really feel that much like I had so much time on my hands. Actually, I found a part-time job working as a sortation associate at Amazon. So I work there late shifts. I work from 11 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's 4 a.m. It's part-time, but like it's good. It's some money coming in, and like it's funny because before the whole pandemic situation, I wasn't really working. And then the pandemic situation happened, and now I'm working. So it's kind of, I felt a little bit like some of the things were happening to me in reverse than other people. Like my experience is a bit different in some of the cases. But yeah, but I think it was great, a great time to reflect and open unfinished things that I've been putting on hold for a long time, and just really reflecting and going back to them and working on some stuff I wanted to work on.
Cool. Amr Zahar asks, what food reminds you of your childhood?
In America, in Astoria, Queens, with my father, he would make steak, salad, and broccoli while we watch Disney cartoons. In Egypt,
that's a good meal.
most definitely ملوخية. يعني.
بالأرانب?
Yes, with rabbits.
Adnan asks, how are we going to remind ourselves about the lessons we learned during this pandemic? Are we gonna forget that this ever happened?
I don't think so. But yes and no. You know, us human beings, we move on, and we have this tendency to kind of like, move on and forget really fast and take on new things and engage and just, but no, I think, I don't know. I think that one of the coolest things the pandemic did for me personally is make me really open my mind to so many things that I took for granted. There's so many things we took for granted that when the pandemic happened, we were just like, oh my God, like the simple act of having a coffee with a friend at a cafe. Like how mundane, like that's something you do every day. And it's like, you don't really notice how like great it could be. Like now I would die to like meet a friend and have a coffee and catch up, but we do that online now, but it's, I don't know, for me, I started connecting more with people. I think, yeah. Yeah, just stay more in touch. I think for me, I've learned, stop trying to be in control of everything and enjoy the moment and the present. Adaptability and acceptance, and trying to stay connected as much as you can with the people that you love and things that surround you in the world.
Yeah. Hanan asks, what do you do, Shireen, to heal yourself when you need healing?
I join women's circles. I have a whole circle of women sisters. We I tried so many other different things before. Like I tried online therapy, that didn't work. I tried. I read some books sometimes. Some books I look up online and I feel like they're interesting books to read. There's one called Body Keeps Score. I do have a chronic pain since 2004, and I think part of it has to do with the trauma I had. So like learning how trauma actually affects the body and makes you feel physical pain, and it's a really interesting book. Also, I start reading Shahrazad, the stories and Alf Leila Leila. Sorry, a very old edition. I got like all the
1001 Nights.
Yeah, and yeah, just through creativity, storytelling, having a circle of tribe and support, and having someone to talk to and connect with and relate to. I think that's very, very important. That's always empowered me. Other creative women and them sharing like what they're creating and how it impacts people when they watch it and see it or experience the work. And that's how I work on that. Try.
Hadi Al-Diba is a musician from New York. He asks, what's the last epiphany or aha moment that you had?
I think it's I can't think of anything specific, but I think just like discovering how my niece and nephew respond to things. It's so like amazing. Like when I see them having their aha moments, then I have my aha moment. Like it's kind of like a domino effect. Like when I can't remember specifically what those things are, and as soon as we finish, I'm gonna remember them. But like Mariam, for instance, would be discovering something, and she'd be like, whatever, and I see her like discovering that thing at that moment, and I like lived it. So it's like, wow, like.
Is there an Egyptian community in medicine?
Not that much. No, not that much. Yeah.
You're not very far from us, by the way. What are you, like 10 hours?
Where are you?
From Detroit?
Detroit, yeah, probably.
You're 4 hours from Chicago, right?
It's like 2-3 driving, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you're like 7 hours from Detroit.
Cool.
Yeah? Any ideas coming to you right now?
I don't know. I think I know I'm gonna fly to Chicago and then from there fly to Heathrow and then from Heathrow back to Cairo.
Yeah, like a person between Toronto and LA and New York is very hard to attract to Detroit.
No, not really. It's okay. I like all places. No discrimination.
But Detroit, Detroit actually is very attractive for filmmakers. It's an interesting place because it's very like picturesque. It has a feeling of an apocalyptic city, like a deserted city,
Yeah.
which is coming to life now. But it always was very interesting for photographers.
Mhm.
Hadi Shatila, who's also a filmmaker and a graphic designer from Lebanon,
Mhm.
he asks, "What's the worst thing COVID-19 pandemic made you discover about yourself?"
Good question. um, Probably that. Yeah, dealing with my demons. Like having a lot of alone time and not interacting. I'm currently not dating anyone. I'm single right now, and I just got out of a very not okay relationship. So not okay. Just it wasn't compatible and whatever. So like yeah, just like facing up to things, facing up to things and just really like admitting them to myself. Maybe I don't know how to say something specific, but
Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert, Shane?
I think I'm a little bit of both, depending on my mood.
So everyone is, yeah, but do you lean more towards? It depends on the mood, huh?
There was a phase in my life, like from my 21 up to like 28, whatever. I was super social butterfly, very extrovert, and then there was a phase where I was super introvert. I just like can't handle being in
Mm,
company of people unless those people are really, really like enjoyable to be around. Like if they're not, like I'd rather just be alone. Like I enjoy my own company. I don't have a problem. Like one of my favorite things is alone time. Like if I don't have my alone time, but that doesn't mean like I can't be in groups of people. I'm very social as well. But I think
uh-huh.
yeah, it depends circumstance.
Talal from Kuwait asks the opposite questions. What's the best thing the pandemic made you discover about yourself?
Spending time with my niece and nephew and my sister. Um, Having more time to do the things I never thought I would do, being forced to not go back to things I probably end up doing again because I'm not disciplined enough, but like not being able to do them because of the COVID-19. Like
Mm,
I don't know, like taking a break from I don't know going out to nightclubs maybe or drinking or maybe like yeah just like peer pressure. Yeah, it's like Egypt, Cairo can be a very social nightlife, and in the film industry too there's always parties. You go to network, you go after a film festival, you go to this party to meet this person, whatever. So it's like it's so much commotion and a lot going on that I actually felt like I wish I can just take a break and like not do any of that. But you say that, easy said than done. You never do it, but the pandemic kind of forced you to like do certain things that
yeah.
you can't do.
Do you feel that you've changed in that way? Like you wouldn't go back to certain things because you know
Mm.
you've experienced that
Yeah,
isolation?
I think so. I think it's like I've read somewhere before and I heard and even by experience learned that it's true. Like it takes 30 days to practice a certain thing to adapt this habit. So if
Yeah.
after 30 days you stop doing something or start doing something, you will continue on. So I have good faith that I'll be disciplined this time.
Do you know Abdul Al-Mutairi from Saudi Arabia? He's a filmmaker.
I know. Anna, nice to
He
meet you.
was he was in New York also.
Oh, cool.
What is the first country you are going to visit after this and why?
After this, when is that? I'm going back to Cairo.
You're
Uh,
going back now. You're not waiting.
yeah, in June 30. Hopefully, if my trip doesn't cancel again. Um,
Uh-huh.
I actually, that's a good question though, because I started wondering if maybe this is a time where I should be somewhere else that's not even the States or Egypt. There's a time that actually happened when the revolution happened and then Morsi became president. I felt like I didn't want to be in Egypt at that time and I didn't want to be in the States either. So I was like really wanting to be somewhere else, like a third place. And then I got like an opportunity right in that moment. Someone called me, and then I ended up going to Thailand, living on this island in Koh Samui, and like working the best creative job you can ever imagine on this beautiful paradise island. So I'm hoping that maybe I
How
can.
long did you stay there?
The thing is, I have till like 6 months till I start my PhD program because I'm applying to several schools. So up till September 2001, I'm kind of like a bit flexible. I can pretty much be anywhere. Nothing's holding me anywhere. So I'll go back to Cairo because my apartment's there. I have some things I have to do, and like there's going to be a turning point where it's like do I go to Dahab? Do I go to Nuweiba? There's so many options. Like, do I just go somewhere out of Egypt completely and go somewhere else? I don't know, but we'll see.
You know Shireen Suleiman? She's
Ahlan.
also from Egypt.
Mhm.
She asks, what is one thing that you have already experienced that you feel helped you be most prepared for the situation?
Good question. Um, I didn't find it super challenging that I can't go out and I can't hang out with friends and I'm spending alone time. Actually, I'm so used to that. So for me, that was nothing. That was not really. It wasn't a bummer. I didn't have an issue with that. It's the funny thing. There's certain things that actually work to my benefit um, because of the pandemic. Like I never file for my taxes. I shouldn't be saying that. I never filed for my taxes, but then I decided I was going to do it this year. And then I got like the stimulus fund because I don't work much in the States and I'm living in Egypt and whatever. So I got that. That was great. And I got a job at Amazon, start working, making some cash. So I'm just not like, spending out of my savings and then what. So that worked to my best interest. I don't know, like I was prepared. I was prepared because I've been in so many different unexpected situations and so many different living situations and circumstances in my life that I think I have a little bit of adaptability when it comes to the physical aspect of staying somewhere or being at somebody else's place, or I've been in a college dorm. I've lived in a college dorm. I've camped out.
You have a very rich experience, Shireen. I feel like do you write diaries? Do you blog? Do you write, I feel like you have a lot of experience to share.
I just use some of that in my film, or I write my own scripts for my movies. So I use some elements, and fictionalize them. But I use like sometimes I've done a few work self-reference cinema where I use some of my own experience in the work. Most of those are not stuff I share in public. It's based on some personal trauma experiences I've lived. So they're actually worked on in workshops with only women, and we have a safe space where we can share and connect and share those things.
All right, Shireen. So yes, we are out of time actually. So I want to ask your permission to go over a few minutes.
Sure.
You mind?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, this is an exciting part of the show. It's the last part, which we will ask you for recommendations.
Okay.
Coming from you with your experience as a filmmaker, we're going to get the best recommendations.
Sure.
So, what is the last film you saw, and what film do you recommend?
The last film I saw was with my nephew, Malik. It's called The Spaces Between. It's a 2017 film. It's an American romantic science fiction. And yeah, it's about this boy who ended up being born in Mars. And of course, at birth, his mom dies. And then he just, at age 18, he wants to come back to the Earth, but he can't handle Earth because his heart is too big. And it's just a beautiful movie, so relevant for
what
people.
Is it called?
The Space Between Us. The Space Between. The Space Between. Yeah.
Do you recommend it?
Definitely. Yeah.
And what film do you recommend? If there is, a film that you really want everyone that's listening to this show to see.
Gosh, I don't know what to say.
Film that have influenced you in your life.
Gosh, I always go blank with this question, and I'm a filmmaker.
Maybe because there's a lot going on in your mind.
And entertainment types of films because of my niece and nephew and I've been personally watching a lot of the like Egyptian films on a certain kind of topic because of my research. So I don't know, that's not something necessarily I would recommend. The thing is, there's so many different audiences for so many different types of films, but yeah, I guess I maybe I'll be better with TV shows because that's what I'm starting to get into more now. I watched.
Yeah, we'll take a recommendation for that.
I've watched Anne with an E, really, really, really good one. I watched Outlanders.
What is it?
Anne with an E. Anne with an E. Outlanders and Unorthodox. Those are like my top 3 favorite films. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so blank with movies right now.
Is there music? Is there a type of music that you've discovered recently that you'd like to share with us?
So now I started listening to meditation, awakening music, like positive vibe, energy music, and natural sounds to sleep to, which is super helpful and magical. It actually works. And then I started discovering there's actually natural sounds here in Madison, Wisconsin. So sometimes I just open the window and I can hear the natural birds singing, and it's so beautiful. And then when I'm working at Amazon, they always ask an employee every night, like, what do you want to hear tonight? And they play that whole night the music we choose. So I've been listening to 80s disco.
Cool. And any blog or podcast or a website? I know people don't really do that anymore, but
Yours.
thank you.
Dearborn. It's called
Really?
Yeah, you Dearborn. How can not watch that or know that?
Nobody visits that. Come on.
Just recently, also, given the Sarah Higazi race situation happening, I've started following Now This. Yeah.
What's that? Oh, that's like like news, right?
Yeah, and and certain other, like, the humanitarian sites and stuff that post things and like what's happening and stuff. I don't know them off the top of my head, but like I just started subscribing to newsletters and to get more information on what's going on.
Cool. And any book that you recommend?
Yes. Excuse my French. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is amazing. He talks about, like, okay, so I'm gonna just say a quote from the book. He says, "Let's be honest, shit is fucked, and we have to live with it." And it's exactly like so relevant to what's happening right now. But the whole book, he gives you examples on how people, like, basically it's all narrowed down to you don't choose some of the circumstances we're born into, but you do choose how to respond to them, and like depending on how you're going to respond to them, that's what your reality is going to be in a way. And it's super interesting because he gets actual examples of people we all know, like certain bands who made certain decisions, the guy from Japan who was in the war, blah blah blah. Like he gets actual accurate, like he talks about the Buddha, he talks about people we know, and he actually, like, so you can relate to them and understand like what he's referring to. It's really interesting. He has a part 2 also called Everything is Fucked. I still haven't read it yet, but I have the book and I'm going to start reading it. It's in Egypt though when I get back.
Cool. How is the book scene in Egypt, by the way?
The book scene? Honestly, I'm not really a huge book reader, to be honest.
Do you feel people around you, like in Egypt? Do you see people holding books?
Yeah.
No?
Oh, now, yes, in Egypt, yeah, especially too when I'm like going to Nuweiba and camps. And there's the thing that I wanted to say actually before, and I forgot to mention, Egypt is vast. There's so many different bubbles of communities in Egypt, and some communities within the communities don't even know each other. And it's like another world. Like some Egyptians will come from a certain kind of community and they will not even know this other community existed. So yes, there are a lot of Egyptian friends that I've met in like at certain camps in Nuweiba, or randomly through my work, the film industry, or people who are like lived or studied abroad. Lots of them, they're super like bookworms. Like they read books and they know about all these different types of books, and like just read one after another. And like I have some friends that ordered some books like for me to get for them because they can't get them there. And it's a lot of people read, but I'm not really a huge reader.
Awesome. So we came to the end of our show, Sharine, and thank you very much for being with us tonight.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
If you were to ask a question to our guest, what would you ask? You look like Emily, by the way.
Oh.
It's interesting that was a film that was influential on you.
I guess,
thinking you look like I've seen you before, and I mean, I've like, بشبه عليكي يعني, and then I figured it out. Yeah.
Cool. I think I
visited that cafe, by the way, in France.
Yes, I went twice.
And Montmartre. Yeah, it's kind of commercialized, but
no, yeah.
But it's beautiful.
Yes, they have some of the props of the film. All of the props of the film are there. Like
yeah.
I guess I would ask them a few of the same questions that were asked to me, like what I would be interested to know from their experience, like what was one of the things they come out with this experience living through the pandemic, and yeah, lessons learned. Maybe other question that actually has started running through my mind, like not knowing about these certain specific people until they, like an outrageous crisis, there's something bad happens and then we learn about it later. Are we that disconnected, like to the extent that people are not able to find communities and groups to be support, and groups and communities? Like this girl, she had asylum, you know, Sarah Higazi, she sought asylum, she's been to Canada. Like I know that Canada is one of the countries that are very, very active with the LGBT community, and like I just don't understand like what's lacking. Like, are we to be held responsible? Like, I don't want to come off and say like, yes, it's partially our fault that these things happen. Like, you can't really. It's a question. It's a question mark. Like, are we partly responsible that certain things like this happen because of our lack of involvement? It's like everyone, it's very easy for us, like if it's not something directly related to you or to me, that we find the time to actually invest and spend time to be active. And like I know not everybody has the nature of an activist, and some who do, they do in a specific thing, and I think as long as that person is active in one thing, that they're doing their part. But like, what about other people that don't? Like, I don't look at them like they're bad people, or that I think everyone should, but like it's just a question. Like I wonder, like if people were more involved, would and maybe it can't be through money, maybe people can't afford to pay money or put money to donate, because then there's a whole bunch of can of worm of questions with that, like where's the money really going to? Are they really using it for these people or not? Like how can you really trust like what happens with the money? And like some people can't afford to do that, so like what are other ways that people can still connect and make things like have a positive effect and less detrimental, like the way it's happening now? Or is it just one of those things like this is nature and this is the world and it's always going to be like that, and just accept it? Because again, that feels a bit passive too. So like, yeah, that's a question I always ask myself.
Yeah, I'm very involved with nonprofit work, as you know, and you know, one of these organizations, for example, that I appreciate a lot is Muslimish, because it creates support communities for people that have different takes in life, different understanding of their religion or identity, etc. Um, but sometimes I even question myself. I question the opposite of you. Like you're questioning, are you doing enough, you know, to help and support? I question, am I doing too much? Am I taken away from the time that I can spend with my kids, or taking care of my financial goals, taking care of my educational goals, to put into a lot of nonprofit work that is it really making a difference? You know? So we all have our doubts, and both of them are you know both of them are good doubts, you know, to keep you balanced in life. I feel that everyone should really I feel everyone should be, you're contributing to the empowerment of women in Egypt through what you can do, you know. You can't handle everything, you know. Nobody can handle all the issues in life, but all of us have like an optimized, like that's what Bill Gates calls it, like we have an optimized thing that we can do. Like we are most effective in one thing that will have the most influence on. So you, for example, will have a lot more influence doing film to empower the woman and give them a voice in Egypt, for example, or wherever, than, for example, you, you know, defending animal rights with PETA, you know, just because you are a filmmaker. You know, you can do a lot with that, and you being a woman and having both the Eastern and Western experience. So I think if every one of us does what is most optimized for their role, I think the world will be in a lot good place. You know, one thing I like about the pandemic is that it took away sports, because I've always resented the amount of time, and with all respect to sports and athletics and athletes, I just resented the amount of time spent. You know, like when I go to an Amnesty International meeting, and there's like very few volunteers, and we're trying to, you know, table in an event, and we're trying to split the schedule, and there aren't even enough volunteers to cover a day. You know, while you have a stadium full of 100,000 people watching boys running after a ball, I just feel sometimes like, you know, we are unbalanced in the way we can, you know, spend our time. But enough talking from me. I'm gonna leave you, Shireen, with the final question that you're gonna reflect on, and we'll say goodnight, which is a question I usually ask. If you had a magical closet in your bedroom that teleports you to a specific place every time, where would it be?
Okay, since the question is a very fantastical, illogical question, I'm going to have a fantastical, illogical answer.
Yeah.
I would go to see where my mom is. May she rest in peace. Yeah.
May she rest in peace. With that, Shireen, thank you very much. Stay safe, travel safely.
Thank
Greetings to you and to your family and to your friends and to Egypt and to all our brothers and sisters in Egypt.
you. Mhm.
And for our audience, thank you very much for joining us. Join us next Tuesday. We have a very special guest. You'll see the announcement on Dearborn Blog. And this episode will be available on YouTube and Facebook and also podcasted on Dearborn Blog Podcast. You can find that on Spotify, iTunes, or Stitcher. Thank you and have a great night.
Thanks for having me. Take care.